All rise. Court is back in session.
Okay, bring the jury back down. You may be seated.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Judge.
Cross-examination.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning.
Morning.
We've never met, that's true, right?
Correct.
You've never met this gentleman, my law partner, before, correct?
No, that's
But
correct.
this is not the first time you've sat in a witness chair regarding this case, correct?
Correct.
You actually had what was called a preliminary examination leading up to this case, correct?
Correct.
And at that time, you were sworn and placed under oath.
Yes.
You understand that, don't you?
Yes.
In fact, there was another lawyer that asked you a series of questions on that day, correct?
Correct.
So is it your testimony that the previous testimony to the prosecutor, if I recall correctly, was that there was no discussion between Mr. Muntean and yourself about committing suicide, correct? Is that what you testified to?
I don't recall exactly.
You don't recall. Before we convened today, you had the opportunity to speak with the prosecutor and a detective regarding your testimony, correct?
I spoke with the prosecutor, not the detective.
Several times, right?
Correct.
Okay. So would it be a lie then if you were asked at the preliminary exam under oath, was there any discussion between you and your husband?
That I'm going to object to improper impeachment. I don't know what page, I don't know.
37. May I continue, Judge?
You may.
Do you recall being, you were asked this question, was there any discussion between you and your husband that you guys were going to kill yourselves, commit suicide? And your answer on that day was, yes, that was my understanding?
Okay, that's what it says.
I didn't hear what you said.
If that's what it says in the transcript.
I know what it says in the transcript. What I'm asking you is, did you respond that way on that day under oath?
I don't recall exactly what I said.
So if I asked you that question, was there an understanding between you and Mr. Muntean that you were going to commit suicide, what would your answer be?
That's what he was pushing for, yes.
That's not the question I'm asking. Was there an understanding between you and this gentleman that you were going to commit suicide?
I guess so. He thought I was going to, yes.
Ma'am, it's just a yes or no question. Was there an understanding between my client and yourself, your husband, that you were going to commit suicide?
Yes.
At that very same preliminary exam under oath, you were also asked a question. So at some point, you were parked in this particular lot. The two of you talked about the fact that you were going to end your life. And you answered yes, correct?
Correct.
At that very same exam under oath, another attorney asked you this question. He never said he was going to kill you, and your response was no.
Not in
Correct?
those words.
Pardon me?
He didn't say it in those words.
Okay, I'm asking you, were you asked this question? He never said he was going to kill you, and your response was no. Yes or no?
That's correct.
Gentleman followed up the question with this. You talked about killing yourself, correct? Your response was yeah. Is that correct?
I don't remember exactly all my answers, but if
But
he
you
asked...
remember being at the
I'm going to object. She said that she can't remember her answers. Perhaps instead of improperly impeaching her, she has the ability to see the transcript and fresh recollection as to what her answers were.
May I approach the witness, Judge?
Yes, you may.
I'm going to call your attention to question 11 and 12.
Read it to yourself.
Okay.
Was that your answer on that day?
Yes.
Under oath?
Yes.
May I have it back, please? Do you recall being asked a question about a statement you made to the police regarding this was all a big misunderstanding?
Yes.
You remember that, correct?
Correct.
And your answer to that question was, that's correct. Is that true?
That's correct. That's what I said.
Would you agree that what you just testified to now contradicts to what questions the prosecutor asked you and your answers today?
I'm not understanding
Are
the
they
question.
different? The prosecutor asked you some questions today, basically very similar to these questions, right?
Right.
And you answered completely different today than you did when you were under oath during this preliminary exam. Isn't that correct?
I'm going to object. That's one, a big question. Two, he's asking
Right.
them.
Were the answers you gave today different than the answers you gave at the preliminary exam?
I would say a little bit different, yes.
A little bit different or a lot?
With more detail.
Completely different, correct?
I'm confused. I'm not exactly sure what you're asking.
Would you swing your microphone closer to you so we can hear you?
Here's what I like to do. If you don't understand what I'm saying, or you can't hear me, I'd just like you to tell me that. Is there some misunderstanding? Can you hear what I'm saying? Dean?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. My question's quite simple. The prosecutor asked you questions that are very similar to the ones that were asked at preliminary exam. Is that true?
True.
And your answers today are quite different than they were at preliminary exam, correct?
I guess.
And you were under oath at both times, both today and at the preliminary exam, correct?
Correct.
On the 23rd, at St. John Hospital, you were interviewed by a police detective, correct?
Correct.
May I have one quick moment, Judge?
Yes, you may.
Isn't it true on that date, when you were interviewed by the detective from the Detroit Police Department, that you also made a statement that we decided there was no other way, we were going to kill ourselves by pills? Did you tell the detective that?
I did.
Was that the truth?
No, not exactly.
So you were lying at that time?
I was trying to protect him, Radu.
My question's very simple. Were you lying at that time?
Yes.
So you were lying on that date, but you're not lying today?
Correct.
The detective asked you this question again. Did Radu ever tell you who's going to kill you? And you responded
I'm
no.
going to object this improper impeachment. There's no question before her if she remembers saying before he reads in, which is essentially what he's doing, the statement to police.
Judge, may I approach? If I showed you a copy of the police report, would that refresh your memory?
Yes.
She didn't say that she didn't remember, the judge.
Do you remember what you said that day?
For the most part, yes.
Do you recall saying, did Radu ever tell you he was going to kill you? And your answer being no. Do you
Yes,
remember
I
that?
remember that.
Do you?
I do.
And your answer was no.
Correct.
Were you lying then too?
No, he never said that he's going to kill me in those words.
Do you recall the detective asking you how you got the cuts on your hand?
Yes, I remember.
And do you remember what your answer was?
I believe I said I didn't know.
Let's go back to the handcuffs. Were they on the whole time, or were you able to remove them at some time?
He took them off at one point.
He took them off.
I believe so.
Did any, during this incident, alleged incident in the field, Mr. Muntean rendered aid to you? Isn't that correct? Meaning he tried to help you.
Yes.
And what did he do, specifically?
He sprayed antiseptic on my gunshot wounds.
Anything else? Did he cut away part of your clothing so we could look at the wound and apply the antiseptic?
Yes.
Finally, do you remember the Detroit police officer, detective, asking you if you wanted to press charges that day?
Yes, I remember.
And do you remember what your answer was?
Yes.
What was your answer?
No, I do not want to press charges.
Why didn't you want to
Because
press
it was a big misunderstanding.
Correct. So this happened, this actually happened less than, would you say, 24 hours after the alleged incident?
That's correct.
So all this was fresh in your mind at that point, correct?
Yes, there was a lot of things in my mind at that time.
Made statements during direct examination regarding a document that you had signed by a notary. Is that correct?
Correct.
Do you remember what that document said?
Yes, that I give up my right to my parental rights to my daughter, and that it was done not done under duress or any pressure.
So did you know Kristen Nichols, the notary public? Did you know her personally?
No.
Did you tell her that you're signing this only because you're being forced to sign it?
No.
Because you really weren't forced to sign it, correct?
I was forced to sign the original one.
Isn't it true that you contacted Mr. Muntean and insisted that he show up at the bank so he could sign the document, correct?
I don't recall.
You don't recall. Would it be safe to say, just if you had a guess, that during the preliminary exam testimony that you used the phrase, "I don't recall" and "I don't remember" over 15 times?
I didn't count how many times.
Would it be safe to say? Is that a safe guess?
I can't speculate to that. I know I said that phrase.
So you can't recall and you can't speculate, correct?
Correct.
Would it be safe to say in this document relinquishing your parental rights that you characterized yourself as an unfit parent?
Yes.
Would also be safe to say, and if you don't remember any of this, please tell me, because I want to show you the document if you need it. Is that okay?
Okay.
When you characterize yourself as an unfit parent, you also said you have left her on repeat occasions during the period of November 2014 and June 2016. Isn't that correct?
The dates seem wrong.
May I approach the witness, Judge? Oh, they seem wrong, or are they wrong? Or don't you know? Do you not recall?
I don't recall.
May I approach the pressure?
Before we do that, Judge, can I take a look at that?
Oh,
Sorry.
absolutely.
I've never seen it. I'm going to object to that being entered into evidence.
What?
It's a document that I believe is going to be used for impeachment on a collateral matter. I don't believe it's necessary.
It's a notarized statement by the complaining witness, Judge. Goes to her state of mind.
I was leaving.
Thank you, Judge. Okay, approach the witness, Judge.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with that document?
Yes.
Do you see the passage on there that you state? Is that your signature at the bottom? That is, correct?
Yes.
And that's the notary's signature that you met with that day, correct?
I believe so, yes.
And you characterize yourself as an unfit parent in that document, don't you? Just take your time.
Yes, I remember.
Pardon me?
I remember this statement.
You remember the statement?
Yes.
What else do you recall? What else does it say after you say you've been an unfit parent? Was it a continuation of that sentence?
And have left her on repeat occasions during the period of November 14th and June 2016, which is the wrong date, under direct supervision of a man who previously sexually abused me and raped me.
You have a question with the date. What's the problem with these dates? They're not correct?
The June 2016?
Okay. So is it your testimony and my understanding that you didn't read this before you signed it? Is that your testimony?
I might have not caught the mistake. I read that statement before. I didn't catch the 2016 date.
So obviously you're placing some significance on the June 2016. And I understand. Are you claiming it's a typographical error?
Yes.
The night before this alleged offense occurred, you were arrested, weren't you?
Yes.
And on direct examination, you took something known as Molly, correct?
Correct.
That's not a prescription drug, is it?
No.
That's a street drug, isn't it?
Yes.
I've never done Molly before. How does that make you feel?
Talkative. It helped me open up and be a little more emotional.
You actually called the police on yourself, didn't you?
Yes.
You're taken into custody,
Yes.
handcuffed.
Yes.
Was your child at home
No.
that day?
No, she was not.
Where was she?
She was with Miss Luba, the daycare provider.
So on the 21st, she was sleeping over again at the daycare provider's home, correct?
Correct.
And then on the 22nd, same situation?
Yes.
Correct? And then you were heading to Chicago, going to rehab, is that correct?
It was in rehab.
What was it?
It was a mental health treatment facility.
Would that have represented your first attempt at treating your mental health issues?
No.
In fact, how far does that date back to? When did you first see a therapist?
I'm going to object to relevance.
Goes directly to her state of mind, Judge.
Not her state of mind.
Overruled voting. Answer the question.
In 2009?
So you've seen a bevy of therapists since 2009 up to and continuing on today, correct?
Correct.
Specifically, has there been a diagnosis or what have you been treated for?
Major depression.
Just major depression?
One of the main ones. There was a list of other things.
Did you ever tell a therapist you were...
Judge, may we approach?
Yeah.
Judge, may we approach again?
Yeah.
Ms. Muntean,
Yes.
are you familiar with Dr. Joel Young?
Yes.
And he works at the Bloomfield DBT, correct?
No.
Pardon me?
No.
He doesn't?
He works at the Rochester Center for Behavioral Medicine.
Do you need us to refresh your memory?
No.
Did you seek counsel from Joel Young, psychiatrist?
Yes.
You remember filling out an intake form and a release with Mr. Young, or Dr. Young, correct?
At the Rochester Center, I'm confused.
I'll rephrase it, Judge. Here's what I'm asking you. When you sought out the help from this gentleman, the psychiatrist, Mr. Young, he had you fill out an intake form, correct?
I believe so.
An intake form, and tell me if I'm wrong, is something that you fill out and you give the doctor direction on what issues you're currently experiencing. Is that a true statement?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recall signing your name and dating the intake form from Dr. Joel Young?
Not particularly, no.
Okay, if I showed you your signature on here, could you tell me if it was yours or
Yes.
not?
Yes, I
Do you want me
can.
to do that?
Yes.
Permission to approach first, ma'am. That's your signature, right?
I don't see my signature here.
Oh, my apologies.
Yes.
What's the date on there? Is it March 16th?
Yes.
So that was before this alleged incident, correct?
Correct.
According to your intake form, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a question that appears. I know this was a while ago, so I'll be more than happy to walk back up there and show you this if it doesn't ring any bells. There's a question that asks, there's concerns between you and your loved one. That meant Mr. Muntean, correct?
I guess, yes.
Do you recall what your answer was that day?
No.
So if your answer was, cannot be open and honest, think I'm superior, manipulating, I don't feel empathy or regret for my actions, always think only of myself, antisocial personality disorder, lying and deceiving. Did you write that?
Yes.
You wrote it because it's true.
I wrote it because that's what he's been telling me for months now.
The therapist told you to write this.
No, Radu did.
Oh, okay. But Radu wasn't there when you signed this, right?
I don't recall.
You don't recall. Well, do you recall a question on this intake form that says symptoms currently? Do you remember what your answer was?
No.
Want me to come and show you? Or should
Yes.
I just...
Or you can read it out.
Okay, thank you.
Because I would ask that she be shown.
So, it's the highlighted passage.
Lying, deceiving, manipulating.
I couldn't hear what you said.
Lying, deceiving, manipulating.
So those are the concerns that you had when you went to the doctor that day, correct?
Those were the concerns that Radu had that I wanted to work on to make him happy.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said. Could you repeat that?
I said those were the concerns that Radu had regarding me, and I wanted to work on those to make him happy.
Pardon me. Was Mr. Muntean seeking mental health treatment that day, or were you?
I was.
Was Mr. Muntean sitting next to you when you filled this intake form out?
Possibly.
Was he sitting next to you in the room or in the building?
I believe I filled that paperwork out at home. I do not remember if he was in the room with me when I filled that out.
So your answer is, I don't recall?
Yes.
What's your level of education?
I have a master's degree
In?
in alternative energy technologies. Alternative energy technologies.
I asked you if this was your signature, correct? And you said yes, right?
Yes.
And you dated it 3... So this one says 3/21/16. Want me to show it to you?
Yes, I don't know what you're looking at.
May I approach the witness, Judge?
Yes.
That's your signature, right?
Yes.
That says 3/21, correct?
Yes.
And that was the day you were arrested for Molly,
Yes.
correct? Driving under the influence of Molly, correct?
Yes.
Can I have it back, please? Thank you. I'm sorry, did you say that, how many times did you see this Dr. Young?
I don't believe I saw Dr. Young at all. I saw the therapist in his office.
Okay, so the therapist in his office, how many times just if you can give me a ballpark figure, you saw him more than once, correct?
Correct.
Are you still seeing someone from his office?
No.
Do you recall in this intake form, there's a passage where it lists several different possible mental health issues. In fact, at the top, it says problems you are experiencing currently on one side and in the past right next to it. Do you remember filling that form out?
I remember filling the form out. I don't remember the specifics of the form.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. Come back up. I'll show it to you.
Okay.
That says what under currently, problems currently?
Do you want me to read all of them or just the highlighted one?
Just what it says. Here, I'll do it. I'll ask you a question. Let me have it back. Does this not say currently experiencing thoughts of suicide?
Yes, it does.
I'm sorry, what?
It does say that, yes.
And with two different dates, we have a date on 3/16, and then we have one on 3/21, which was the day of your arrest, correct?
Correct.
So did you take the Molly because you were feeling suicidal that day?
No.
Why'd you take the Molly that day?
Because Radu was pushing that I take it, and I didn't want to make him even more upset. I didn't want to start an argument.
I think didn't you say, so your testimony now is that Mr. Muntean encouraged you to take the Molly because it made you more talkative and, what else did you say? Talkative and what?
A little more emotional.
Okay. So you're being traded for suicidal thoughts, correct?
That's what it says in the paperwork, but
That
that's
you
not...
signed, right?
Yes. But that paperwork is for a different office that I was seeking treatment from. I did not go into that office to receive such treatment.
I'm sorry, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that answer means. This day,
The provider said...
This day, a week, or possibly the day before this alleged incident, you went to see a therapist named Joel Young, correct?
No.
It's right here. I just showed it to you. You went there that day.
No, that's not correct.
I don't
Let
mind-
me explain.
I don't mind coming back up there again and showing you.
Can I please see that again?
Approach you may.
The paperwork says it's from Bloomfield DBT. That's a treatment facility that I was applying to for possible year-long treatment for DBT, which is dialectical behavioral therapy, which is similar to the 30-day program that I was supposed to go to Chicago for. This was in prior...
All I asked you was, did you go to this gentleman to see him for psychiatric help? That's the only question I'm asking.
But he's not even from this office.
A licensed therapist or psychiatrist from his office, you did go and see someone there to discuss your issues, correct?
Correct.
That's all I'm asking you.
But this paperwork is not from that office.
Oh, so the paperwork that's filled out in your signature, as you said, and signed by you, it's a fraud. Is that what you're saying now?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
So what are you saying?
This was for a different office, for a different treatment center, not Dr. Young.
I don't understand what you're saying.
Well, am I not speaking clearly, or...
Pardon me?
Am I not speaking clearly?
No, you're telling me and the jury 6 different things. Okay? I asked you if you'd been here before. You said yes. I said, is this
I
your
said I've
signature?
been to Dr.
Please
Young's
let me
office.
finish. I didn't interrupt you.
Completed.
I'm trying to be a gentleman, Judge. I asked you, is this your signature? You responded yes. I asked you, is this filled out in your handwriting? You responded yes. I asked you, concerns between you and your loved one cannot be open and honest. Well, I already read through that.
I'm going to object to him reading off of the paper. That's
already-
improper, and he's going over things that have been asked and answered repeatedly now.
Judge, in all due fairness, now the witness is saying something that she didn't go to this place, that it's not, she wasn't treated here. She's already testified that this is in her handwriting and she signed off on every page.
That's a mischaracterization of the testimony. She said that her signature was at the bottom, and she tried to explain to defense counsel numerous times that that is from a different facility. That is from Bloomfield. She was explaining that she did not go see Joel Young at Bloomfield, and defense counsel keeps asking her repeatedly the same questions, which she's already given the answer to. I'd ask her to move on.
All right, move forward then.
Thank you, Judge. Just one last follow-up, Judge, please. You did indicate on this form that as of this date, that you were currently experiencing suicidal thoughts. Yes or no?
That's what the form says, yes.
Okay. Judge, may I have proposed Exhibit B, Mark?
You may.
Judge, I would move for admission of Defense Exhibit B.
I would object, Judge. I would object for a couple different reasons. Do you want me to approach and state them, or on record?
Candidly, Judge, I thought we already talked about that up there.
They're not a certified medical record, so they're not self-authenticating. He does not have the keeper of records here, so they're not admissible. They're hearsay otherwise.
We already discussed this.
Pardon?
They'll be received that.
Thank you, Judge. You're, as of today, sitting in this courtroom, you're not divorced from Mr. Muntean, are you?
No.
You're not legally separated, correct?
Correct.
There's been no judge or no court that's intervened and made an order or ruling granting you legal separation or legal divorce.
No.
And why haven't you done that up till today?
Because I've had other problems.
Never abused cocaine or ecstasy in the presence of your daughter?
I'm going to object, relevant.
Same.
Were you ever the subject of a Child Protective Services investigation?
Objection to both.
Goes to our state of mind, Judge.
Same.
Thank you.
Just one moment, please, Judge.
All right.
I believe you would discuss this with the prosecutor earlier. Who is Judy?
She was a therapist at Rochester Center for Behavioral Medicine.
Are you still presently treating with her?
No.
How long did you treat with her?
I only saw her maybe twice.
Was Judy a psychiatrist or therapist of some sort?
A therapist.
Do you remember sending her an email on Friday, March 11, 2016?
Yes.
Do you remember saying, what do you remember, do you remember the context of this email that you sent to her? What did you say?
I said something to the effect that that Radu was, he beat me up only because it was my fault, basically, and something to that effect. I'm not exactly sure.
I showed you this. Would you tell me if you wrote it?
Yes.
And what it says?
Yes.
Want to refresh your memory?
Yes.
That's really not what this says. Permission to approach, Judge.
You may.
Did you write this email to Judy? What's Judy's name, by the way? Do you know? Last name?
Redmond, I believe.
I'm sorry, Redmond?
Redmond.
Is she a licensed therapist, if you know?
I don't know.
She worked at a psychiatric facility, correct?
Correct.
That email does mention Radu, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
But it doesn't say what you said earlier, does it?
No.
What does it say?
Radu is not an abusive husband and never was. He has never laid a hand on me in the 10 years we were married and living together. If anything, he's the one that always promotes peaceful conflict resolutions.
So if you allow me, I think I'm just about done.
You may.
Ms. Muntean, I'm almost done. Let's take you back to the field. Any time from when Mr. Muntean allegedly picked you up and allegedly took your cell phone, that's what you testified to, correct?
Correct.
You had two phones, right?
Yes.
You took one, allegedly you threw it out the window.
Correct.
You had one phone remaining, correct?
Correct.
From that moment that he tossed that phone allegedly out the window until you wound up in the hospital, did you have access to your cell phone?
I did.
Did you make any calls during that time?
No.
You sure?
No.
You're not sure.
I know I texted.
So you're texting.
Yes. I texted his friend with the information he told me to text her.
He told you to text.
Yes.
But you had access to the phone. Could have texted anybody, right?
Yes.
Quite frankly, that's true, right?
True.
Any time during this alleged incident did Mr. Muntean leave the vehicle?
Yes.
You were alone.
Yes, he was outside.
About how far away was he?
I don't know, 15 feet, 20 feet.
I'm terrible with measurements.
So am
too,
I.
So was it as far as that TV screen to that back wall? And Judge, I apologize, I don't even know how many feet that is. I would say 30.
Approximately 37.
Is that 30 feet, would you say?
Maybe at one point when somebody showed up at the field, he was this far, but other than that, I don't believe he was that far away
But
from me.
you did testify to all that. If I'm wrong, just tell me. You testified that he had left the vehicle several times to either speak or text or use his phone.
Yes.
How'd you know he was using his phone?
I could hear him.
You could hear him.
Yes.
And the handcuffs were eventually removed, right?
Yes.
You had access to your phone, right?
I don't believe so.
You said you were texting on your phone, right?
When I was still handcuffed.
Okay, so let's go back. You were still handcuffed, but you were handcuffed to a seatbelt?
Yes.
Is it safe to say that you could have pressed the button and been out of the seatbelt restraint?
No.
You had access to your phone. Mr. Muntean left the vehicle on several occasions, at least 30 feet away. You also testified that you attempted to get out of the vehicle to retrieve something from the truck. Is that correct?
Correct.
You sure you didn't take the Vicodins on the way to the field?
I remember specifically picking them up from the floor in the field from the bloodied mat, thinking that at this point it doesn't matter, so that it's dirty, so I'll just take it.
So you didn't take any at, I don't know how to characterize this, is it Golston that you
Golston.
that you shared with Mr. Muntean? That was a marital home, right?
Yes.
You didn't take any Vicodin there, right?
I don't believe so, no.
You don't believe so, or you didn't?
I don't believe I did.
Would there be anything that would prevent you from remembering if you did or you didn't?
Just the shock of the whole event.
But this is before all that, correct? I'm simply asking, did you take the Vicodin at the marital home or before you got to the field?
I believe I took it in the field.
And then you took some more, correct, because of you were in pain, right?
Yes.
Judge, I have no further questions.
Redirect.
Ms. Muntean, let's go directly. You were attempting to explain about Defense Exhibit 2. What exactly is that?
What was
That's
Exhibit 2?
the behavioral intake form.
That was, so instead of going just to Chicago, I had other options to go into a year-long treatment that would not take me away from home. Bloomfield DBT was one of those, and in order to, I called them, they didn't have any openings, and in order to be put on the waiting list, I have to fill out an intake form and send it over, so they would put me on the waiting list.
And what caused you to seek this type of year-long treatment?
Radu was always on my case that I'm not, I guess, stable enough, that I'm not honest enough with him, that I'm not truthful with him, and he was forcing me to get into treatment and figure those things out if we were going to get back together.
So you were basically doing this to please him?
Yes.
And in there, defense counsel asked you, although unclearly if it was on the 16th or the 21st, that you were having suicidal thoughts. That's what that form indicates?
Yes.
Okay. Were you having suicidal thoughts on the 21st?
No.
Okay. How do you know that?
Because I was too busy thinking, doing things and dealing with other issues. I wasn't thinking about killing myself.
Where were you supposed to be on Monday, March 21st?
I was supposed to be in Chicago.
Okay. And that brings up then, defense counsel asked you a bunch of questions, a couple questions about where Nadia was on the 21st.
Yes.
You testified previously that you had dropped her off at daycare on the 20th, I believe?
Yes, that was a Sunday.
And why did you drop her off at daycare?
Because we were going to Chicago.
Okay. And the defendant dropped her off with you?
Yes.
Okay. And she was, the babysitter was supposed to take care of her for how long?
It was undetermined. Radu was the one that set it up.
Okay. And so Nadia was going to stay there until...
For at least a week until he got back from Chicago.
Okay. The email that you sent to Judy Redmond following the March 11th incident at the sheriff's office, why did you send that email?
Because Radu was upset of how the how the session went, and he was scared that she was going to call the police on him and report him. And he
So why would you email that to her?
Because he wanted me to explain. He said it was my problem to fix, that I had to clear his name.
Did you send the email because he really didn't hit you?
In that email, I said he never hit me while we were together and living together.
And was that true?
That's true. Did
he hit you on March 11th?
Yes, he did.
So why did you send an email saying that, or implying that he didn't?
Well, I thought I was being clear that I was referring to prior dates, but I just wanted to make him happy.
Did you want him to get in trouble?
No, I did not.
Did you believe that you were an unfit parent?
No, I did not.
Why would you say those things?
'Cause that's what Radu kept focusing on. That's what he kept telling me.
Okay. And so why would you voluntarily give up your parental rights?
He threatened me that if I don't do it, he was going to... I don't remember the exact threat, but I remember feeling threatened.
Do you know why it's difficult to remember everything that happened in the field?
Because it was a huge ordeal and shock, and it's just a stressful, emotional event.
You testified, the defense counsel asked you a bunch of questions about when you testified at the preliminary exam.
Yes.
That was back on Friday, April 15th, is that correct?
Correct.
Is it fair to say, is your memory better then, or is it better now?
It's better now.
Why do you think so?
Because I had time to process things. I had time to think about it.
And when this first happened, were you trying to block things out?
Possibly.
Judge, I'm going to object. This is speculation on the prosecutor's part. She's taking the role of a therapist now.
When you were in the car and the defendant shot you in your leg, you testified that you tried to push the gun away.
Yes.
When he came back the second time, did he point the gun and aim it?
Yes.
So the gun didn't go off automatically or accidentally, right?
No.
At any point in time when you were in the field, the defense attorney asked you if you tried to leave, and we'll get to that in a second. But did you ever try to hurt the defendant?
No, I didn't.
Did you ever try to stab him with the knife?
No.
Did you ever try to shoot him with the gun?
No.
Did you ever hit him?
I don't believe so. Just to get his attention when he was choking me.
When you testified on cross, when someone was asking you some questions about him helping you.
Yes.
By spraying some antiseptic on you.
Yes.
Was this before or after he started stabbing you around the area of the gunshot wound?
I don't know for sure.
But he did start stabbing you.
Yes.
Did he try to help you after he shot you by calling for an ambulance?
No.
Why didn't you use your phone to call for help?
I was in shock. I didn't even think clearly that I could call for help. I didn't know where my cell phone was.
Okay. But later in the field, when you did have your cell phone, you were using it to text, right?
Yes.
Why didn't you at that time try to call for help?
I didn't want to make him mad. I didn't want him to hurt me even more. I was just trying to be obedient and do what he wanted me to do.
Were you afraid of him?
Yes.
Defense counsel asked you a bunch of questions about questions that you were asked at exam and questions that you were asked today.
Yes.
And you said that you answered them differently, but you started to explain why they were different. So why did you say that you answered them differently?
I just remember more now that I've had time to process things.
Did you answer them, are you saying that you answered them untruthfully at either?
No, I do not.
Okay. He also asked you some questions about the discussion about committing suicide in your testimony at the preliminary exam. When you were asked those questions, specifically that, was there discussion between you and your husband that you were going to commit suicide? And you said, yes, that was my understanding. What did you mean by that?
He was talking about that we should commit suicide, that's the only way out.
So it wasn't a discussion between the two of you where you both agreed to commit suicide?
I don't think so, no.
And did you talk about how you were going to end your life?
I don't believe I did, no.
Who was talking about suicide?
Radu was.
When you gave the statement to the police on March 23rd, what was your state of mind at that time?
I was in the hospital. I wasn't sure exactly what happened. I was still kind of woozy from everything. I'm not sure if it was medicine or what, but I had a hard time staying awake. Even as I was talking to the detective, I was falling asleep. I know she had a hard time getting me to review all the documents, all the statements I made and sign the paperwork.
And at the time you gave your statement, what was your state of mind as it related to your marriage with the defendant?
That I don't know. I guess I knew that we were separated and not together, or there was really not much hope left for us getting back together.
Defense counsel asked you about the defendant taking the handcuffs off at one point. Did you have a key to the handcuffs?
And I didn't have a key. I don't remember if Radu handed me one to take him off myself or if he did it. I believe he did. Took him off himself.
But he was controlling
the key.
You were and were not handcuffed.
Yes.
You started to answer one of defense counsel's questions about the suicide. You started to answer that he was pushing. That's what the defendant was pushing for. What did you mean by that?
What was the context again? I'm not sure.
In talking about whether or not this was a suicide pact, whether or not you had agreed.
Oh, okay. I was thinking in my head, I don't want to kill myself, but he kept pushing that this is the right way and that's the only way to get, finish everything, get out of this. So I didn't want to tell him no straight up because that could have gotten him mad. But in my head, I kept thinking, I don't want to die.
One moment, Judge.
You may.
I want to go back to the intake form that the defense attorney was telling you about. It says on there that it checked suicidal thoughts. But you testified that you were not suicidal at the time.
Right.
So why would you check on the form that you were having suicidal thoughts?
I mean, I've thought about suicide. I guess they call it ideation, suicidal ideation, where you just kind of think about dying and but not carrying through, not going through with it.
Okay.
So I just wanted to make sure I'm open about everything and honest so I can get the right treatment and take care of all the issues that he was pushing me to take care of.
Okay. But to be clear, you were not suicidal at the time.
Correct.
The defense attorney, the last question the defense attorney asked you was about the pills that you took. You testified that you distinctly remember picking them up from the mat.
Yes.
Did you take all of them at that point in time, or did you separate them and take them in different increments?
I believe I took each one separately, but close in succession.
Okay. So it's all basically the same.
Yeah.
At any point in time, did you tell the defendant when you were out in the field that it was okay that he had you out there?
No.
Did you ask him to get you help?
I believe I did ask him to take me to a hospital.
And what was his response?
I don't remember his response, but obviously we didn't go to the hospital.
I think that.
Recross.
Just correct your position. Ms. Muntean, you strike me as a very well-spoken, strong, educated woman. Am I right in that assessment?
Yes.
You have a master's degree?
Yes.
And where's that from?
Wayne State University.
Approximately how long did it take you to achieve that degree?
2 years.
But you had a bachelor's degree previous to that?
Correct.
Where did you get that degree?
Wayne State University.
Would it be safe to characterize you as a studious and intellectual type person?
Yes.
You're smart, right?
Yes.
You've established the fact that you're very smart, very intelligent. Would you consider yourself to be a strong person?
Yes.
At any time, this is very important, at any time during the incident, alleged incident in the field, did you make contact with that gun?
With who?
The gun. Did you touch the gun?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Other than it hitting my head.
No. I'm saying with your hands, did you touch the gun?
I don't believe I did.
So you can't answer yes or no. It's just you believe you did not, right?
That's correct.
Sure about that? Was there any kind of struggle involved with the gun?
No. I don't believe so. Just when he was before he shot me, when I pushed it away.
So you did have contact with your hand with the gun, correct?
I don't remember if I touched the gun or his hand that I pushed away. I don't like guns, so I don't tend to grab for the gun.
Well, you said grab. So did you attempt to grab the gun?
No, I did not.
Did you attempt to grab the gun and that's when it went off?
No.
You remember that part, correct?
Remember which part? The gun going off, or?
You just testified to, you remembered specifically you didn't grab for the gun.
That's correct.
But you might have hit the gun with your hand.
I pushed the gun away. I don't remember if I pushed the gun
Is that
or
when the
his
gun went
hand.
off?
No.
This is the last question. Prosecutor made reference to the email you sent to Judy.
Yes.
You remember that? It came up there.
Yes, I remember.
Right? Then you later testified that what you really meant was that he had not verbally abused or physically abused you for 2 years. Is that what you testified to?
No, I testified that he hasn't abused me in the 10 years that we've been married together and living together.
So for 10 years, he walked the straight and narrow, and then suddenly, in your testimony, that's when he became abusive?
He became abusive about 2 months before the incident.
Why didn't you want to initially prosecute? What was your hesitation?
I still had hopes that maybe somehow we can make this family work for our daughter. I wanted her to grow up with her father.
Well,
I wasn't thinking of myself, I was thinking of my daughter.
I understand what you testified to, but previously just testified that you felt that there were no hopes of reconciliation with this man. Now,
After what has happened, I thought about it, yes, and I didn't want to be with him anymore.
I have no further questions, Judge.
Anything else?
No, Judge.
You may step down. You may call your next witness.
Judge, I'm sorry, just procedurally, has defense exhibits A and B have been answered, correct? I believe I moved for their admission. Thank you, Judge.
Two issues.
Officer Pollard.
How long will that be?
He might be a little bit longer.
I'm going to send the jury to lunch. Step into the jury. Prepare to go.
All right.
You may be seated. You may step down.